Hello, everybody, and welcome into the Hunter Mulholland Show, the Tuesday edition, coming at you before the Cardinals kick off Game 2 of the series against the Philadelphia Phillies tonight. They dropped last night, and they kind of shot themselves in the foot early. They find themselves in a 2-0 hole due to, in part and in large part, due to Hunter Dobbins' throwing error that comes across and actually is 2 unearned runs on Dobbins' line, even though they were self-inflicted. And that kind of put the Cardinals in a bind. They sat behind the scoreboard the entire time, the entire game. They kind of get into a little bit of a groove late in the 8th inning. They score 3 runs. Jimmy Crook strikes out, and then Brian Torres pinch hits for Cesar Prieto, who's still looking for his first hit with the Major League Ball Club. And the Cardinals fall short. They send J.J. Weatherholt in the top of their lineup up to bat in the 9th inning against a very weak Phillies bullpen, especially after the weekend. And they find themselves falling short. And it was a game that you almost needed to win. It feels like it was the most must-win game of this series. And I know that that's going to sound weird considering it was the first one, but it's the one that kind of sets the tone. You're trying to chase down Philadelphia in a wild card race. And if you're going to have any hope of doing so, getting off on the right foot by getting a win and, staying on pace, getting a win against their 5-starter before you face Christopher Sanchez tonight and Zach Wheeler tomorrow, puts you in a good spot, especially with where the bullpen was. If the Cardinals were able to knock out Andrew Painter early in last night's ball game, then maybe the story goes a little bit different and the Cardinals find a way to get it done, but they definitely kind of shoot themselves in the foot. I do want to talk a little bit about Caleb Ferguson's outing. Just abysmal walk, double, walk, comes out of the ball game, doesn't record it out. Gordon Graceffo comes in and gets out of the jam that was created by Ferguson, but ultimately Graceffo in his second inning of work gives up 2 runs, and that would put the Phillies over the top. That was the final blow that kind of put it out of reach for St. Louis, despite their efforts to make it happen in the 8th inning. Going and looking at tonight's ball game, just a couple of things to note. Luis Arias has faced Andre Palante 8 times, has a .500 batting average. Brandon Marsh, a .400 batting average in 5 at-bats. Kyle Schwarber, a .444 batting average in 9 at-bats with a home run. And I mean, those are some serious threats in the Phillies lineup. The Cardinals, only one guy has seen the guy that's seen Christopher Sanchez the most, Jordan Walker, 125 batting average. And then after that, it's Pedro Paez, who has a .200 batting average. Ivan Herrera has 2 at-bats, 1 home run, and a .500 batting average against Christopher Sanchez. Ultimately, I think that is those small sample sizes don't tell the whole story. I think Palante has pitched better this year. I think Jordan Walker might look better against Christopher Sanchez than his career stats might imply against him tonight. But I do want to also mention, so last night I took a look after the game, and there was a lot of changeups thrown. And I looked at Christopher Sanchez on Baseball Savant, and I took a gander over at his pitch mix for this season. 43% of the time, Christopher Sanchez is throwing his sinker. 37.8% of the time, Christopher Sanchez is throwing his changeup. And so I expect that the Cardinals are going to see a lot of changeups based on last night. They saw 30% from Painter, and I believe it was like 56% of pitches from Ronell were the changeup. So you're going to see a lot of changeups if you're the St. Louis Cardinals tonight. Christopher Sanchez, a really, really strong contender for a Cy Young this year. A 2.65 ERA, a whip of 1.22, 174 strikeouts. I mean, he has done it all for the Philadelphia Phillies, and he's part of the reason why they're in the mix, despite a lackluster beginning of the season for the city of brotherly love. So, looking forward to tonight's game, uh, expect a lot of right-handers in the lineup. I don't have the lineup just yet. It has not been released yet, but as soon as it is, I mean, I'm sure you'll see it on X if it comes out while I'm recording here. I will share that with you. But as of right now, the St. Louis Cardinals don't have their lineup released, but it is going to feel like a very right-handed heavy lineup. I expect to see Blaze Jordan, Jose Fermin in the lineup, being prepared to flip the lineup when the time is right. I expect that you're probably seeing Pedro Pajes behind the plate. Actually, no, it's Palante on the mound, so you'll see Ivan Herrera behind the plate. And in which case, maybe Fermin or Blaze Jordan gets a DH spot tonight. But definitely going to see a lot of right-handed batters in the Cardinals this evening. And when it comes to the Phillies, you saw them last night. They didn't have Real Muto or Trey Turner in the lineup. I would expect to see them back in, but they have a lot of lefties. So Andre Palante's got a tall task. He's 12-6 with a 3.63 ERA and only 90 strikeouts compared to Christopher Sanchez, who's 15-4 with a 2.65 and 174 Ks. And that's tonight's ball game. That's tonight's preview. One thing I want to talk about a little bit is Nolan Gorman. He is turning in some pretty good lines recently in AAA. The power's starting to resurge. I would be surprised if Nolan Gorman does not make an appearance with the St. Louis Cardinals in the coming weeks. I think that that's a possibility that he's going to appear at Busch Stadium, and he's going to be batting in the 5 spot for St. Louis when he comes back. I think that the power numbers, they're going to use that as the excuse to why he's hitting there. It's tough because I believed in Nolan Gorman since he was a prospect. I thought that he had just the raw power that the Cardinals were kind of missing, and that was something that was a very big question in the offseason, was where was the power going to come from? Obviously, it came from Jordan Walker this year, as well as Alec Burleson has put together some nice power numbers, as well as Ivan Herrera. They've all put together some very solid power numbers this season. So looking forward to seeing Nolan Gorman maybe make an appearance. I can't. If you can get his power right, I just think that he fits. I think that there is a spot for him if you can fix the poor at bats that he takes. If you can change how he takes at bats, the power will play. We've seen Nolan Gorman go on runs where he looks fantastic at the plate. It's been a while since you've seen that out of him. And I think that maybe, everybody kind of ruled out Jordan Walker. Maybe there's something there. They sent Nolan Gorman down to the hit lab down in Florida, trying to get him right. And there's something that's starting to work down in AAA. He's hitting much better down there now from when he got there. So maybe there's something with Nolan Gorman. Maybe he comes back up, and I'm not saying that he's going to have a superstar breakout the way that Jordan Walker did, but maybe there's something that gives you a reason to believe that he is going to be a part of the Cardinals and he's going to be a contributor in one way or another. Maybe you are completely sold out on the Nolan Gorman train and you are just done. You just say, okay, I'm done. I don't want to see him anymore. And that's entirely fair. The last couple of seasons have not been his best since he had a campaign where he was pushing for 30 home runs. Since that, it just has not been the same for Nolan Gorman. So to see him in the near future, he's going to arrive. It's just a matter of when. And I believe that St. Louis has a very fair opportunity here to, especially with depending on how this final stretch kind of rolls out. If you're not going to be in the playoffs, maybe see what he's got. See the adjustments have worked, and see if he can be a contributor at the major league level, to where you feel comfortable having him come in this week. Now with when it comes to some other things, and we talked a little bit about Matthew Liberatore. Tekoah Roby is on his way back. It seems we talked a little bit about the pitching with Matthew Liberatore. I should say this is not going to be a Matthew Liberatore discussion. We're not doing that again until he pitches against the Chicago Cubs later this week. Tekoah Roby's on his way back. Last Friday, Daniel Guerrero of the St. Louis Post-Dispatch reported that Chaim Bloom said that he's getting closer and closer to returning to face live hitters down in Florida on his rehab, getting him back into a game, potentially maybe by the end of the season. If not, he will be back in 2027. The touted prospect came over from the Texas Rangers in the trade for Jordan Montgomery, and he's been a guy that you've heard about. He's somebody that when he came over into the organization, there was some belief that he was going to be a guy that found his way to the major leagues sooner rather than later. Injuries have kind of derailed that. He's dealt with some shoulder issues, and then obviously the Tommy John over the last year. So his development has been stunted a little bit, to where now he is going to try and come back, and he probably starts next year down in AAA. I cannot imagine that he would start anywhere else. Starts down there in AAA, and if he performs well, there's a chance that he makes a push for a roster spot at some point next season, if not in the next two. So the pitching staff in the minor leagues is very, very strong. You look at Senja, you look at Doyle, you have Quinn Matthews, who's down there right now, who you expect he's going to make appearances down the stretch run of this season. You have Richard Fitz and Hunter Dobbins, who Fitz and Dobbins have both pitched in Major League Baseball before. Fitz obviously missing all of this season. Dobbins now up with the team, and it seems like he's fully implemented into the Cardinals starting rotation. Brandon Clark, a guy that Chaim Bloom traded for. Yohoka Fajardo, another guy. Chaim Bloom has done a very, very good job of bringing in pitching prospects that can kind of reevaluate how the Cardinals look at their pitching staff in the future and down the road. Sandro Santana, who is a electric left-handed pitcher, who is a strikeout artist, and you believe that he's going to make an appearance in the coming years. He's probably going to be a bullpen guy. That's what he's doing down in the minors. Daniel Egan, Tanner Franklin, Cooper Jerpy. There are a lot of names in the Cardinals' top 30 prospects that are pitchers, and that are pitchers with a very, very high ceiling. A lot of guys that you think can come up to the major leagues and be a difference maker in the pitching rotation and in the starting rotation specifically. When are these guys going to make their appearances? Over the next couple of seasons. They're not. You might have one or two make an appearance here down the stretch run, but I mean, Bryson Motts has already made his debut, so he might be a guy. Max Rajic, who's on the IL and getting TJ, he is done. There is a very large group of pitchers that make you question where the future of the Cardinals will go with the depth that they have and the team control that they have over some of their other arms. There's going to be moves made because you can't carry 35 pitchers on the major league roster, and you have a very, very large depth of pitchers in your organization. And so in the future, like, there are going to be tough decisions. Is Andre Palante on the team over the next couple of seasons? Is Kyle Leahy around? Is Matthew Liberatore? I would believe that I think that Palante and McGreevy have a very good chance of staying. There are going to be moves made regarding the pitching staff as some of these guys get ready. And I will like the thought of it. And so where the pitching staff is going is really, really strong. You're still a few years away from it. So now we've talked about Nolan Gorman. on his track up, and we've talked about some of the pitching down in the minor leagues. Let's talk a little bit about one Joshua Baez. So you DFA Nelson Velasquez. He just got picked up by the Astros. You add Everson Pereira. You have Pereira, Prieto, Torres on the roster who are kind of, they almost feel like holding and placeholders for Joshua Baez, Nolan Gorman. There are going to be moves made, and maybe Baez is a guy that when the rosters expand, you bring him up. You also have Ramon Urias, who's down in the minor leagues. He's on, I believe this will be a full week today, as of today, of him being down in the minor leagues for a rehab stint. I think that the future there is with Ramon Urias. I think that, maybe he comes up with the rosters expand. I don't think that there's necessarily a reason to bring him up right this second. He's 32. He is a guy that probably you're not re-signing. It doesn't feel like this. It's something that fits the Cardinals' motion and where their path is taking them. So seeing Ramon Urias play at the major league level for the next 2 months doesn't strike me as something that needs to happen. Now, if there are injuries or real rough stretches from some guys, maybe you see Urias make an appearance sooner rather than later. But as it stands right now, I don't think they're in any rush to get him back to the major leagues. It just doesn't feel like something that they need to do. So the future of St. Louis is in full swing. You see it. You see the guys. You see the prospects. You know who's coming. The vision is there, and the path is set. You'll need to pick some things up on your trek and on your journey, but you have the core pieces that you believe are a part of that next generation of Cardinals already kind of in your system and built out to where when they make their appearance, they're going to take over some spots that you have questions about. Like, I don't think there's any question about first base. I don't think there's a question about right field, shortstop, second base. There are questions about catcher. There are questions about third base. There are questions about left field and center field. And I think that, Nathan Church could be a guy who, if he can become a average hitter in Major League Baseball, I think that he's got a fair shot to stick in center field, and you put Joshua Baez in left field and you say, hey, here we go. And that's all you need. Third base, I don't know if their future third baseman is in the organization. I think that, you've ran your runway with Nolan Gorman. You do have Blaze Jordan, but he has not shown too much. He's had great at bats. Don't get me wrong. He has put together well at bats. He makes contact. He's a good hitter. He was a very touted young star at the age of like 13 when he was hitting home runs in major league ballparks. But it doesn't feel like he's the right guy to stick at third base for St. Louis. And I think that you're going to have to make a move. And maybe it's not even a free agent. Maybe it's something through the draft. Maybe it's somebody you develop and you say, okay, third base is going to be an interesting position for a couple of years, but we've got this guy on the way up. He's going to take over, and that's that. For right now, that's kind of where the Cardinals stand. And I think that the trajectory that Chaim Bloom has set this team on is a very, very good one. So with that, Palante and Sanchez tonight for the Cardinals. I'll give it one last check before I let you out of here. There are no Cardinals lineups. Now, I will announce this because I just got the notification on Twitter when I was looking for the lineup. The St. Louis Cardinals official Twitter account has tweeted that starting this weekend, the St. Louis Cardinals will be returning to navy caps as their primary road hat. Hallelujah. Those hats are amazing. I love them with the grays. Those are one of my favorite combinations that they wear. So I'll leave you with that good note today. So thank you guys for watching the Hunter Mulholland Show. Every day, Cardinals news, Cardinals baseball, talking it here with you guys. Leave some comments down below. Let me know how happy you guys are about the Navy hats on the road, because I absolutely love it. Give me a follow on X. Give me a follow on TikTok, Instagram. And we will be right back here tomorrow with more Cardinals baseball for you.